Sousa Show. Sports.
Oh, we are live. That's right. We're in the Alico building, 21st floor here in the heart of Central Texas. Pete Sousa Show. Of course, I am Pete Sousa on the wheels of steel. My main man, Zach Burke, coming up today. We're going to talk to television's Allie Kavlabar. Allie is, she could be a stand-up comedian. Instead, she stands up and does work as a news reporter. And we're going to talk to Allie because, well, I love her. And then Cam Stewart, who I don't like as much, is going to join us in the third segment. I would like some reaction from him around the Aaron Hernandez TV show, American Sports Story, that debuted on Hulu. And I also want to talk to Cam a little bit about Adrien Wowski announcing just hours ago that he's going to move on from ESPN and become the general manager of the St. Bonaventure's basketball program, which I was in the middle of some stuff this morning, and I was like, whoa, what's happening? I was actually, and we'll talk about this a little bit, a little promo. Tomorrow debuts Inside the 12. It's a show that I'm doing with Madison Hawk, and it's a Big 12 powered production, and it's about the Big 12 football season. And we set the table for all the matchups, and it's an exciting time to be a fan of the Big 12, and certainly to be in Big 12 country. Somebody's at the door. Let's see, who is it? Come on in. Oh, it's Corey Dickman, for crying out loud. Rogue Media's Corey Dickman. Get the hell out of here. All right, there goes Corey, who, by the way, pays the bills, so he can open up that door anytime he wants and storm right through. He's, by the way, why is it that the guy that owns this place is the only one who knocks around here? I mean, that gives you, Zach, comment on that. That's the guy who keeps the lights on.
Yeah.
He's got at least he's conscious.
Yeah, no, he just did it slowly and waited to see. No, it's nice. It's nice when it happens, because a lot of times I just hear like, and then open.
Oh boy, Mike Hamilton, Wolfman Jack would just storm right in.
Usually
right?
he makes sure he doesn't slam behind him.
No, he was quiet. Cam slithers in, right? Because he's
got like his arms full, and he just kind of has to like, like juke one way or out, like he's a running back doing the,
Cam slithers, dude. He slithers around this place. We'll have Cam coming up in a little bit. We're going to talk about Adrien Wowski leaving. I mentioned that. I want to talk a little bit about the Big 12 because I'm stoked about doing that show. And we're going to hear from Mike Gundy and, of course, Stephen A. Smith regarding Adrien Wowski leaving. And I want to talk a little bit about a game tonight here happening in Central Texas, a huge game, something you probably weren't expecting me to talk about. Texas women's, that's all women's, because Texas volleyball and Baylor volleyball in a marquee matchup that if you're in Central Texas and you get down to the Farrell Center, you need to see. I wanted to start talking about Sean Diddy Combs. And I had the feeling when he was arrested the other night in New York City on these sex trafficking allegations and sickening sex crimes, I just had that feeling like this is potentially the last time that Sean Diddy Combs is going to see the outside of either a jail cell or a prison or some kind of detention center. That's just the feeling I had. Like, these charges are so serious. And after what happened with R. Kelly and after what we're hearing about with these allegations against Diddy, some of which we've seen, that video from March of 2016 in Miami from a hotel room where he's clearly abusing his partner at the time, Cassie. It's really tough to believe that. It's just really hard to believe that he'll have freedom someday. And the reason I bring that up is because we talked a little bit about Aaron Hernandez yesterday, and Cam and I and Zach kind of took a dark walk down memory lane and remembered the time when Hernandez was arrested, just that whole day, what happened, the sequence. He drove to the Patriots facility. He was turned away there. Then you started to hear that it was possible he was going to get charged with murder. That morning he was walked out, or that afternoon when he was walked out of his house in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, with his hands behind his back, I remember really thinking to myself, like, this guy's life is over. and it's a consequence. You murder somebody, allegedly somebody else too. That's it. That's you go away. We're done. With Diddy, I feel like it could be the same thing, and it's just amazing to me. Now, here's someone just from a sociological perspective on top of the world, to the point where my belief is you involve an immense, just overwhelming amount of power, which he had, alcohol, drugs, women. It is a concoction and a cocktail that can really put you in a place where I can't relate to, and that place can get awfully dark, awfully quick, and you almost feel like the rules don't apply to you. Well, now Sean Diddy Combs is facing the rules. He's subjected to the consequences of his actions. Yesterday, and this all comes down to freedom to me, really. Yesterday, he was denied a bond. The prosecutors made like a special appeal that he would not get bond because of these crimes and the depth of them and how they were just these sickening sex crimes. And now today he's set to go in front of a judge again in about an hour and a half. And this guy is basically saying, like, anything you want. Like, I'm going to put my mom. Basically, he's like, I'll give you my mom. Like, I'll put my mom's house in Miami up. I've given him my passport. I'm giving you $50 million as collateral. There's some of the other stuff that he talked about. Obviously, the monitoring conditions. He's being held without bail, and they're trying to get him out, at least for the time being, right before the trial were to begin. But it looks like he's going to stay in there. We'll find out soon, eventually, what happens. But it's just, here's some of the other assurances. His mother's Miami home, restricting visitors to family, property caretakers and friends who aren't considered co-conspirators in the case, and having a security company keep logs of any visitors. He will not see women over this time. It seems like it's right now, being a prisoner of the moment, it seems like it's over for him. And I do feel like we have in society sort of turned onto the rich and famous not being immune to some of these responsibilities. So it's such a, these are really tragic tales. But what he did to these women, if it's true, that was tragedy, but it's Shakespearean. It's what it is. It's Shakespearean. And it looks as though he is in ridiculously hot water. To somebody who, when you talk about heat, you talk about explosive, you talk about bombs, Woj bombs. Today, a Woj bomb was dropped earlier this morning, and it caught all of us by surprise. At least it caught me by surprise. Before we get into Woj and exactly who he is and how he got there, because I kind of want to just look at his life and look at the ascent of someone who in his bones is a writer and a reporter, and how you can get to such rare air. Here's an example. Quite the gratuitous compliments and statements made this morning by Stephen A. Smith on First Take.
I've gotten to know Woj over the last couple of years working on NBA Countdown. He's the best in the business. He's the best in the business. Make no mistake about it. Nobody's more well-connected. Nobody's more respected. And to be around him and to just to be able to touch on a wealth of knowledge that he's had in all of his years of covering the league, the contacts that he has, the inside information that he's had. He's led this place for quite a long time. As you well know, there are many, many occasions where we won't even go on the air and report something unless we hear from Woj first. He's meant that much to this place. He's a part of this institution, somebody that, just speaking on behalf of the whole NBA Countdown team and all of us who have worked with him over the last few years, he's the best in the business. He's absolutely exceptional, a high-end professional. He has my profound respect, and I just hope that this is a very, very happy move, and I anticipate that it is, because we certainly didn't ask him to leave. I can assure you of that. This is something that he's doing of his own volition, so one would surmise that he's incredibly happy and comfortable with the decision that he's making, and if anybody deserves to be in a position to make this kind of information for the betterment of their quality of life, he would be that individual. He loves St. Bonaventure. Make no mistake about it.
Sure
Talk about
does
it all
love
the time.
those Bonnies. Yep.
He does.
But I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
But I'm sad for us as a network, because
Absolutely.
The only problem with that clip is that it leaves you thirsty for a little bit more Mad Dog. You could tell he was just lying in the wait like a tag team wrestler outside the ring, right? Waiting to get tagged in. Adrien Wowski really came into my life in the late 90s, early 2000s, when he started to do work for ESPN.com. 6 degrees of separation, or maybe one. My uncle Jimmy Martini was an English professor at St. Bonaventure's and taught Adrien Wowski, which is pretty cool. My uncle Jimmy was like a legend, wrote a ton of books, passed away not too long ago. Obviously, not that you would know, but on my mom's side of the family. Quite the wordsmith. Unfortunately, none of that fell to me, but maybe some of it fell to Woj. And Woj, before he went to St. Bonaventure's, he grew up in Bristol, literally like, I don't know, a mile, 2 minutes from ESPN, where he would fulfill his dreams and recognize his dreams and become the ultimate insider. You could almost take away NBA. He just became the ultimate sports insider. And I think it's important for anybody who wants to do this, or for anybody who likes to follow sports, and you wonder, like, how does a guy like Woj get to where he was? Well, he worked at the Hartford. First of all, when he was in high school, he started to write for the Hartford Courant. Like, just so you know, FYI, like Hartford, Connecticut, that's like a pretty decent sized market. I think it's like 40 or something like that in the country, maybe 39 as far as population is concerned, and DMA. So you're not talking about Monroe, Louisiana. So he's writing as a high schooler for the Hartford Courant, and then he goes to St. Bonaventure's and he continues to write for the Hartford Courant when he's on, Christmas break or summer break. He ultimately goes back after graduating from college. He writes for some smaller papers, and then he ends up going to Fresno, right? So this is first thing you see there is the guy's willing to work at all times in high school, which I think that's like ultimately like the gift that young people can get. I didn't get it. I kind of had it, but I was too, excited about getting drunk and getting high that I couldn't keep focused on like calling games and writing about sports. So that totally took my attention away. But he was following his passion, and he knew what he wanted to do early in life. And he was already honing that craft at 16, 17 years of age for a major newspaper. That to me shows it's just being decisive at that age, and being able to hone in on what you want to do and to get better at it is just a complete bonus for any young person. When you talk about he goes to the Fresno Bee 4 years out of college, I mean, look, man, that Fresno, that's the Valley, and it's not like the Valley like, Pasadena, the Valley. Like they call that the Valley. It's inland, it's hot. There's not a ton going on there. I've been to Fresno several times, and like that's not a destination, but he knew what he had to do to continue to grow in his career, and he was a columnist. So I mean, I don't know the story. Maybe they were like, "Hey, you can come and be a columnist." But either way, now he's literally getting to write feature stories, or not feature stories. He's getting to write in a newspaper about what he thinks, which is like kind of next level when you think about that. That's the golden. People want to do that, right? That's the golden role for writers, is to become a columnist. In 1997, he goes back to the East Coast and writes for The Record in New Jersey. Now, he was named Columnist of the Year in 97 by the Associated Press. He continues to develop and becomes more of a sports writer. Now, from 97 to 2002, he's writing for ESPN.com too, doing like, short-term stuff for them, whether it's draft coverage, NBA, I kind of forget. I just remember trying to figure out how the hell to say his name at a really young age. In 2006, he writes a book that really kind of puts him on the map. And that book was A Season with Coach Bob Hurley and Basketball's Most Improbable Dynasty, The Miracle of St. Anthony. And it chronicled just how amazing the St. Anthony, a school in Jersey City, New Jersey, basketball program had become under the tutelage of Bobby Hurley or Bob Hurley. And it was no joke, Bob Hurley. It's stuff like that that ultimately gets Woj a job at Yahoo. And so he's writing at Yahoo, and he really starts to grow and grow. And as an investigative reporter, he teams up with Dan Wetzel. I remember this in 2009. They wrote a huge story about UConn and violations. And that one thing is that lets you know, right? You have to imagine that he had pretty good relationships and ties to that program, having worked in Hartford. But now he's got to do the ultimate piece of journalism, which is tell the truth about people you know and your friends. And he does it. He does a great job. One little black mark about Woj, which I remember this, in 2010, he was actually named in a lawsuit, or it was reported that he was being sued by Penguin, the book publication, because Woj didn't meet deadlines regarding a book he was supposed to write about Jim Valvano. Now, if I were to guess, this is just me, armchair quarterbacking, I have no idea. I believe that maybe he started to write the book and realized that he was going to have to write some stuff about Jim Valvano that he didn't want to write, and maybe he stopped writing it. That's just me. That's totally my guess. I have no idea. In 2017, he ends up at ESPN. And there were a few things about Woj that I found just quite profound. The fact that, one, he became the guy. And this is a world where the NBA and NBA free agency, and you could credit Woj almost, and guys like Stephen A. Smith and other guys like Mark Stein, Peter Vesey before them. And Vesey really wasn't able to do this because it happened after him, but they turned the NBA. The NBA did it itself, but they were part of it, the growth to it becoming a year-round sport. That, now I remember in 2019, 4th of July, everybody is waiting to see where Kyrie's going to go, where Kevin Durant's going to go. And that was just about as big as any regular season, bigger than any regular season NBA basketball game, and probably bigger than the first few rounds of the playoffs. Woj was part of the growth of that monster where player movement was tracked. And he was able to be a part of that through the relationships that he had forged over time. And that's a huge deal. When you're able to forge these relationships and you don't burn people, a lot of people said, by the way, that he was partial to LeBron James, that he utilized sources to get great stories from LeBron and therefore was always very complimentary of LeBron. That's neither here nor there. I think that's just kind of comes with the territory. He's the best player on the planet. You do what you can to get on the inside. That's sort of collateral damage, for lack of a better term. The one issue, I only have one issue with Woj, and that was when he was tipping off draft picks on Twitter. I thought that was so silly. And it sort of like took away from the pageantry and the excitement of the NBA draft. And that really bummed me out. So that's just one thing. But other than that, when I got here, Cam talked to me about a tweet by Roger Sherman. And this is obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but think about this. This is how hard Woj works. He went from being the ultimate NBA insider who works 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. You always have to be on and available. To switching now to being the general manager of a college basketball program in the middle of NIL, right? It's like, that's just as hard. We do a story, it seems like every other day, where it's like, okay, this coach left this college basketball. I could just say, being a Villanova guy, Jay Wright. That's why he left Villanova. Again, that's my opinion, but I and a lot of people believe that, and people that know a lot more than me believe that. But like, what's the point? What's the point anymore? I mean, it's really tough. So, anyways, Woj does that. That's his move earlier today. Officially, he's going back to his alma mater. Everybody knows he loves St. Bonaventure. You heard Stephen A. Smith talk about that with Mad Dog and Molly. I was surprised when I first saw this at face value. Immediately, I thought, okay, well, here's a guy that's trying to get into an NBA front office. But I struck that down immediately. He's so successful that he could go right into an NBA front office. There have been guys that have done it before. I know True Hoop did that with the Memphis Grizzlies. There's also guys in public relations. Eric Sebastian was a PR guy for the Denver Nuggets for a very long time. And then Eric Sebastian transitioned into working for the Memphis Grizzlies in their front office. Tommy Shepard was a PR guy also for the Denver Nuggets, and he ran basketball ops for the Washington Wizards for more than a decade. So it's not unheard of. His name escapes me, but the former general manager for the Carolina Panthers, Marty Herney, when they were actually decent, he was also a beat writer and a columnist. So it happens. I would think if Woj was trying to execute a plan like that, it would be a direct route. I don't think he'd have to go to St. Bonaventures to earn his stripes. So it really must be a passion play. And it's exciting for folks, I'm sure, around St. Bonaventures. It's a loss for folks that love the NBA and love his coverage. I also think it's a huge loss for ESPN. No doubt that they'll figure it out and recover and fill that void. But I think that Jimmy Pitaro would tell you, and he released a statement today, I didn't read it, but that there is a huge void left by Adrien Wojnarowski. Another thing I want to talk about today is Mike Gundy. And we'll talk more about other Big 12 games later in the week. But I want to talk about the Oklahoma State-Utah game. This is going to be, talking about the Big 12 and as they start their regular season slate of conference games, this is as good as it gets. Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy hosting Utah and a healthy Cam Rising. If you haven't seen it by now, let me be the first to tell you that Alan Bowman and Cam Rising are the two oldest quarterbacks in college football. They're both seven-year players. I don't even know if you could call it seventh-year senior. If I was calling the game, I would know so I could say it right. But here I could be a little looser. But they're both in their seventh year of playing college football. Their combined age is like 49. And there's NFL matchups between quarterbacks this week that are far less than the combined age of 49. And I think that speaks to the quality of college football we get to see nowadays. And I believe this is going to be a phenomenal game. I think that Oklahoma State, when I take a look at this game, I believe that they're going to take Ollie Gordon out of the garage. Zach and I were talking about this offline before the show started. Ollie Gordon has had a slow-ish start for Oklahoma State. This was a Heisman Trophy favorite going into the season. This was someone who Mel Kiper just named the fourth best running back going into the NFL draft. He has faced 9-10 guys in the box all season long. And I know that Oklahoma State was on the ropes against Arkansas, and they had to dip into the bag of tricks to do whatever they could to win that game. But it is quite possible that they've been hanging on to some, let's just say, fireworks or hanging on to some schemes, big plays, and maybe smaller ideas and more systematic clinical attacks that we may see now that they're in Big 12 play. And some of those will either just flat out include Ollie Gordon or could open up defenses and opportunities for him as the passing game. Alan Bowman, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, almost 1,000 yards. This is a dude prior to the season, a lot of football analysts wouldn't piss on the guy if he was on fire. And now he's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the Big 12, hanging out up there with Cam Rising and Josh Hoover. Where Jalen Daniels is, boy, I don't know. 6 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, playing under former Baylor offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes in Lawrence, Kansas. Go see, if you're in town and you're not sure what to do tonight, and of course, town being Central Texas, the Waco area, I think you should go see Baylor and Texas play women's volleyball. You look it up yourself. I don't have enough time to get into the entire game, but when you're talking about players like Madison Skinner, who is so exciting to watch for Texas, you're talking about players like Allie Check and Elise McGee for Baylor. We got 2 awesome programs, and they might not be locking horns for too much longer, as, of course, Texas is now in the SEC. Baylor remaining in the Big 12. Ali Kadlabar, is she in the building? We're going to find out and come back. Either way, I'll be back. If Ali's here, we'll have a grand old time. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, after this.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Zach, are we back? We are back. Ali Kadlabar.
Wait, is this like a live stream?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is happening right now.
Wait, so since I was late, did you have to like improv?
No, it was perfect, actually.
Okay.
I feel like
we
I'm
just jump right into it.
I'm really lubed up this morning. So like I was like ready to go. And so, yeah, the first segment we talked about this guy from ESPN he was an amazing reporter, still is, but he transitioned, took another job working at a college. And then I talked about Oklahoma State and Utah. Oh, I started the whole thing talking about Sean Diddy Combs. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Are you familiar with that story?
Yes, kind of. We keep talking about it on the news, but
Does Keisha talk about it?
yeah,
How's my girl Keisha doing?
he's just doing well. I think so.
What do you think? Because you're always out there hustling.
I'm hustling. Oh no,
Yeah.
I shouldn't touch anything. Probably. Am I good right here?
Zach, is she all right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He's just doing good. Yeah, I'm always hustling like I was today.
I want to talk to you about some of your hustles recently because you and I really do. We're friends and we like to screw around. But I do want to highlight some of your work. In particular, the story about the dog park closing. So, and this is a great example of like social media and how to do it the right way. That the morning that you did the story about the dog park closing, you were at the dog park and a dog and a family showed up. It was still like 5 a.m. It was still dark.
5 a.m. Yes.
And so either you or the social media masterminds over there at News 10 KWTX took a picture of this puppy dog.
I did.
So
I did that.
There's a picture of the dog looking so sad,
I know.
standing outside of the dog park fence.
And his name is Rover.
And you said Rover and his family showed up this morning only to be told by our Ali Kadlabar that the dog park had closed.
Yeah, Rover was so mad. He was so mad.
What was the conversation? So what happened?
So So we got to start from the
Yeah, start from
top.
the beginning. Yeah.
So I was actually in Dallas that night, and I was scrolling on Facebook way later than what I should be. I should be asleep. And I saw that the dog park said, "Hey, we are closing. We just found out about today that the owner sold the property." Like right out from under them, kind of. but not kind of, like that actually did happen. And so I was like, oh my gosh, well, I'm doing this in the morning. So I pushed my original story back, and I was like, and I found like all this footage and stuff that we've done covering this dog park because it's a big deal to this community.
Yeah, I've taken Sadie there.
Yeah,
It's
well,
right
Sadie
next to
can't go anymore.
the Texas animal hospital or whatever. There's a vet right next to it.
Yes, exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's a big deal to the community. They've worked so hard to keep it open, and I knew that, and so I pulled that footage and stuff. We were good to go. I meet Rover because his dog owner went like always takes Rover to the dog park
Every
in the
morning.
morning to run around the 5 acres of property and just have a good time and do his
It's probably
business.
a pretty cool thing that has it all to himself.
Yeah, no, literally,
Yeah.
he, he's just the type of dog that loves to run around at 5 a.m. Like, same. So, anyways, yeah, the lady pulled up and I was like, hey, she was like, what's going on? And I was like, so, the dog park is closed forever. But of course I said it in a different way, but I was like, it's closed. And she was like, oh no, like, what do you mean? And I had to explain the whole situation. Landowner sold the property, all of that.
That's a
good stuff.
it's a huge piece of real estate.
It's 5 acres.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And so I'm actually doing a follow-up story, so tune in next week
Okay.
because they kind of gave me some more information about kind of what happened and like basically how the property was managed and all of
Can you
that.
give us a little teaser?
A little teaser. So basically the landowner just owned the property, donated it to the community to use. And the board, the volunteers board, made up of a few people. They paid insurance, they paid insurance, liability,
Gotcha.
maintenance and all that
And they
every
were like,
month,
no bueno.
ranging from around $300 to $500 a month. And that was all in donations. And so they worked so hard to keep it open. They just had a little like new addition to it, a watershed that they got. It's around $3,000 or less.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's gone, taken from them because the property owner decided to sell the property.
What's the backlash or the response been from the community? Like that?
They're really upset.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, Rover was pissed.
He was. That was probably the best social media post I've ever seen.
I said, meet Rover.
Yeah, and you said
He wanted to go to the dog park this morning, but I had to tell him he can't.
no. You said KWTX is Alley Cadlabar.
No, I didn't. I
Oh.
posted on my social media account
Okay.
because I was like, and no, the best part about it is he went live with me in the morning. I was like, hey, ma'am, do you want to go live like for the morning show? And she was like, no, obviously. Like, why would you want to
Yeah.
do that? And then so I was like, can your dog? And so I sat with Rover by me. And it was like, I just had to break the news to Rover right here that he can't go to the dog park this morning. And then he like ran away. And I was like, okay, this is
Did
great.
people give you mad props for that?
No. But I've just learned to give myself affirmation
Isn't that
these
so
days.
funny? Like, and for people who don't know, like that is the inner workings of a newsroom. Like, there's so much going on. You can do like the best story in the world, and you've got to wait till they hand out Emmys or like Texas Journalism Awards to get any recognition.
Hey, but my family, my mama, papa, mom, dad, aunts, all of the above, they stay giving me affirmation. My grandparents text me, shout out to y'all. They text me every day after they watch the show. With my grandma texts me like how she liked my outfit, and then my grandpa, Papa, Mama and Papa.
I love Papa. He's
Papa
awesome.
texts me like a full report. I think he was like he always gives me like an analysis of it, and then sometimes asks me a question about it too.
You know, I think that's really cool. Sometimes I get pissed at my mom because, like, if I had a kid who or a grand like that was on the news every day, I'd be like, I gotta watch.
Yeah,
Like, how cool is that?
your mom doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
Well, I guess 2.5 hours of Pete Soup is over. Oh my god!
But I mean anything. Like, I could be calling a game and she'll be like, "What channel is it on?" And she doesn't watch.
Oh, true. That's
No.
a big deal too.
I'm like, Mom, it's on ESPN 12. She's like, I don't have that. I want to mention too, I have noticed a transition in some of your coverage. Now, you and I, when we worked together, there was a lot of fun and festivity and a lot of light stories. Now you still are bringing that to the people of Central Texas, but you have taken a turn, almost like a wrestler. When like a WWF or WWE wrestler goes like dark and becomes like a villain.
Ooh, that would
But
be
you
fun.
you have been doing harder, as they say in the world of journalism, stories.
I think I did one, and then I was like, ooh, fun. I was like, oh, the adrenaline rush I just got from this. This was fun. I want to keep doing it. But I also realized that I'm known also for my fun festivities, all of that good stuff
You have to
too.
be yourself.
So I have to really balance it out. And also the harder stories do come with a lot more work. And as a person who already works a little bit more than probably should, because of my own personal
Camera person,
want,
producer.
yes,
Yeah.
because I want to, because I care.
Yeah.
That it is a little bit overwhelming, but it comes with like the affirmation I give myself, and like knowing that I just covered a story that I worked really, really, really hard on. That is all that I need.
Well, that's fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
It truly
Yeah.
is.
So it's like, I'm sitting there in my living room at like 3:30 p.m. making phone calls for like one of those hard in-depth news stories, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I should take a nap, like I should do other things, but I'm like, no, like this is important. People care, I care, and I want to do a good job. So I just keep making phone
What
calls.
is the story that you've done most recently that has been a hard-hitting piece of journalism that really gave you that feeling like, wow, I'm doing good work?
I don't know. I feel like everyone does that.
You sent me the one about the prison.
Well, that was like fun, but you have to
Fun.
you have to be like,
All right, Allie.
no, I know. I probably
now I got to
should.
look at this. All right. So
that
what
one,
about charges
well,
revealed for Falls County fugitive who was thought to be missing off the Galveston coast? That sounds pretty interesting.
It was interesting because I was like, this man faked his death in Galveston allegedly.
Why am I having to get this out of you? Like, this is, I just asked you about this. This is the first thing you say.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, because I sent it to you?
Yeah, it's a hard-hitting piece of journalism.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about this story.
Okay. So this man who was a fugitive for multiple things, including assault, which is a felony. He went over to Galveston, according to authorities. And then he went on his kayak one morning, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then called the Galveston Coast PD or whatever and said, like, hey, I'm out here, like, I'm scared, kind of thing. They're like, okay, we'll rescue you. They couldn't find him. They found his kayak, like, on the shore, and then that's it. And so they presumed that he had drowned. So they searched for him for like 2 to 3 days.
Oh, shit.
And then they got a tip from who knows that he was at his home. And the Falls County Sheriff's Office like found him at his home and then took him into custody. So Galveston PD, I was like, this is super interesting. I wonder if they have like a take on this. And they were like, gave me all of the like details that we didn't have from like Falls County Sheriff, because they can only give their side of things. And it was just, they were like, yeah, so we used a lot of resources to find this man, because at the time it doesn't matter if you're a felony, if you've done the worst thing in the world, or you're an innocent person, they're going to look for somebody who's possibly drowned.
Yeah.
So they wasted all those resources to find him, and then they found out that he was at his home. And especially during the summer months, because this was like early August, like that is a time whenever people are going to the beach. There's a lot of cases like this.
People actually are drowning.
Yes, people actually are drowning.
Yeah.
And this man faked his death.
How did you get a hold of this story?
It was posted on Facebook one Saturday morning. I wrote up the web copy because I'm the Saturday morning anchor, and I did that, and then I was like, this is super interesting. We gotta see what else is going on, because I feel like there's so many stories that are like really interesting, and like we kind of just leave it as is, like, hey, this is the facts, this is what happened. But like there's other things that you can do to add more information, add more details. Because I spoke with the Falls County judge, who's my bud, love Jay, shout out to him. But he told me all of the charges, because we didn't know what he was charged for. And so he told me that it was like something with electronic tampering of a device, assault.
Yeah. He's probably to cut his ankle bracelet off or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not that I would know anything
There
about
we go.
that.
So young. Yeah, never had that happen before to me, so I didn't know. But yeah, isn't that wild?
It is wild. That's a
Oh
cool
my gosh.
story.
So yeah, Galveston, what are they called? Like not the coast patrol.
Gulf, whatever.
I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
But they were awesome. They like got back with me. They, he was on the phone with me. I was
Coast
like,
Guard?
so no.
I forget it. Doesn't matter.
But he was on the phone with me, and I was like, hey, could you give me 5 minutes of this on a Zoom call? And he was like, yeah. It's so nice. And so sometimes you just have to like, ask people.
Yeah.
See what happens. Make some calls. But that was one of those days where I did work till 5 p.m.
All right. What about you work too hard? What about you? When I asked you to come on this show, you said that's great because that'll get me out of work. It gives me like a drop dead time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was hoping I could like get out of work and then go home. And
all right.
then
Well, you didn't. Hold
change.
on. I got a little bit of time left with you.
Oh,
This
really?
is Cam Stewart. He's waiting in the raft. He's
Oh
waiting.
my
over there.
gosh. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry you're having to hear me just yap.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's better than him. Promise.
Wow.
So you recently went looking for gators with Pawpaw.
With Papa, Gabby, and my mom,
What-
and Gabby's fiance.
So what is that all about? When you go out there, like what is that experience like?
It's like the swamp boat tours, Des Allemands, Louisiana, just south of New Orleans. And basically, you go out on a boat in the swamps in the bayou, and somebody's your guide. It's actually allegedly the guide who owns the place. One of the workers is dating Lana Del Rey.
Oh, really?
So we were looking for Lana Del Rey, but she wasn't out there. Anyways, yeah. So basically, there's if you
That's
spot a
she's
gator,
Northeast. I like her. She's like from New York. She went
Yeah.
to Fordham. Yeah.
she's also a great artist. But
Yeah.
yeah, you just look for a gator, and then you're like, oh, a gator, and they'll like stop it, and then they know how to like kind of lure it in, get you to have a good little look at the gator's teeth, and then if you see a baby gator, they'll pick it up and let you hold it.
I thought you had a picture with that.
Yes, you hold it by its neck, which like I don't know, but we let him out into his home.
It's like were you at KWTX when they got the gator and they taped his mouth with duct tape and they took him to a bar and took a picture of him like people did?
No,
Like people found an alligator and they took him to like a bar in like Mart or something, and they put duct
love
tape
that.
around his mouth so he wouldn't hurt anybody.
Oh,
They had him
no.
on the back of a motorcycle, and finally animal control came and they were like, all right,
Yeah,
party's
we got
over.
we got to stop.
We got to
this.
help this gator
Well,
out.
I just thought it was so funny because in Louisiana, we're like looking for the gators. We're like, let's go. And then that same situation where we had like a few youth or younger gators in the Brazos, and
Yeah.
it was like kind of like, oh my gosh, it's kind of scary. Which is so valid because they are dangerous, but it's just like the difference, like neighboring states, completely different cultures there in that situation too. Yeah. We
Allie,
loved it.
anything else?
Yeah, shout out to my family.
Pawpaw.
Papa
Pawpaw.
and my mom, dad, Gabby. I have to name
All right.
Andy.
Their dog who Sadie would annihilate. All right. We got to go. We're coming back with Cam Stewart. Where are you going? The gym?
No, I'm going home.
You got a nap?
Yeah.
All right. Get a good nap. You don't look like you need rest, but you probably do.
Oh, I never look like I need rest until you don't see me anymore.
Allie Cadlabar, you can catch her on KWTX News 10. She's the best reporter that I've ever met. Coming up is Cam Stewart. He might be the worst. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, goes on.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete. Sports.
Cam Stewart, who he got bumped by Ali Cadlevar. Usually, Cam got bumped.
It happens. Look, Show Biz, it happens.
You're,
Channel
what,
10, 44.
what,
Of course, he was going to get bumped.
Channel 10's the most watched local news
No, I
station in the
know.
area
I know.
by a mile.
I don't know about that. But
Oh, it's by
no,
a
I
mile.
mean, you could be right. I just know that they were number one, and I was at number 4.
The best part about
Self-admitted number 4, which should have been a red flag.
but the best part about Fox is that when I'm watching the Cowboys or any big NFL game on a Sunday, you guys get to promo the crap out of stuff.
Yeah, which they didn't do when I was there. I wouldn't have been in the promos anyway, but they didn't do that as much. I'm glad they're finally starting to do that.
It's so smart.
Of course.
And
yeah.
and they do what they've been doing now is that little just put in like we have with Slovacic's here. Just put a little icon.
Yep.
In the bottom lower half of your screen, and you'll be like,
have your anchors go
it's good.
looking up to the screen.
And MG,
Sure.
she's great.
Mm.
I'm like a fan.
I was like, I don't know why you just said those 2 letters, but
MG.
yes, she's one of the anchors.
Yeah. She's like
Not-
their main anchor.
After my time,
Okay,
so I've
so
never met her.
also before your time was Woj. When he was coming up the ranks, you were a very young fellow.
Yeah.
Being raised right down the road, not too far away. He's a Connecticut guy, and
Wait, I want to stop on the Connecticut thing because I asked you earlier who was the most famous person at your high school. Zach, did you tell him why I brought that up? Huge 2 days for Bristol Central High School. They're featured prominently on Aaron Hernandez story.
you went to Bristol Central. High
No,
School?
Aaron Hernandez did.
Gotcha.
And so did Adrien Wowski.
Wow.
It's a weird 24 hours because the first episode last night, they do a bunch of high school stuff. Like he's in Bristol Central sweatshirts and game film and stuff. So kind of a funny, weird 24
We're going to talk
hours
about
stuff.
both those things.
Okay.
I want your insight though, because I asked you ahead of time, like, why do you think he's doing this? Why is he leaving the most? How much did he make a year?
7 million? I think it was 5 for 35. 7 million annually.
Is the contract over?
But he's out of it because it was signed in 22.
Okay.
So I guess he's out of it. But did you see the statement that he put out?
Tell me about it.
I should make sure I get the wording right. But he was, basically more or less saying I got to prioritize what I should be prioritizing here.
Like his family.
You know what I mean? I think he said that kind of without saying that. I want to pull up because the statement is here.
Please, yeah.
He's talking about how this craft transformed my life. I understand the commitment required in my role. It's an investment I'm no longer driven to make. It is not an endless supply. I leave with gratitude. Thanking people. And I want to spend this time isn't an endless supply, and I want to spend mine the way that are more personally meaningful. Ways that are more personally meaningful.
That makes sense. I mean, look, at some point,
you probably just got
he's 55.
just lose it. You can't go on.
Yeah.
We're talking about a very, very slim amount of jobs that have that kind of commitment.
Yeah.
Allie would know.
Yeah.
Allie doesn't sleep at all, apparently.
Yeah.
So she would get it. But we're talking 2 phones connected 24 hours a day, every day of the year. That's an unbelievable.
And you
workload.
don't think he was feeling the heat from Shams Charania?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
He was still the king, man.
Yeah.
Shams is great, right? He's great.
Yeah.
But he's still the king.
And he was following his career. We talked about it earlier. You were doing a coach's show. He made his bones as a writer. Wrote for the Hartford Courant when he was in high school, right? And then when he was on breaks from St. Bonaventure, my uncle Jimmy, an English professor at St. Bonaventure, taught him.
Really?
Jimmy Martini. Yeah.
No, come on.
That's my mom's maiden name.
Jimmy Martini.
That's my mom's maiden name, Martini. Yeah.
Teaching at a Catholic college. Oh my gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
baby.
So Jimmy Martini.
Jimmy Martini.
He was a legend. A legend in Holy. What is it? Olean. An Olean.
Can I ask a question? Is he still with us?
No, he died. I mean, he was pretty old, but he died. He almost died about
That would be a
100
great
times.
guest.
My father would tell you it was because he was dramatic. in-law, right?
I mean, brother, if his name is Jimmy Martini, can you blame him if he is dramatic?
He had a flair for the dramatic,
Oh
and he was. I mean, obviously, he was an amazing writer. A guy like Woj, Mike Vaccaro, another guy who he taught. They sing his praises.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If only he was at like St. John's, that would be perfect. Like perfect. Another saint.
He raised his kids in Olean. Yeah, I remember he would come to visit us, and sometimes I remember one time specifically. There's pictures of me as a kid. Like I woke up to this awesome St. Bonaventure sweatshirt. So cool. Like
how awesome
navy
can
blue.
a brown sweatshirt be? I am wondering.
I mean, when you the old crest, it was really cool.
Nice.
Do you think, first of all, right now, knowing sports media and the world of sports media like you do, next man up, who is it at ESPN to take his place?
I mean, ESPN really should just be throwing the bag at Shams, but I don't think they have that kind of money. So
What?
ESPN? Dude, how many reports a year do we get of all their layoffs and they're hemorrhaging money? They are paying for like 4 things.
Look, being
It's
an
like
ESPN
3 people
employee,
and live sports.
being an ESPN employee, I can tell you that they're good as far as paying guys like me. Okay, like life goes on.
Correct.
No,
yeah.
but I know the big money guys. I think a lot of that the ESPN they're doing just fine. They're making a ton of money.
It's got to be Windhorse, by the way.
Yes.
Like that's who it's got to be.
Yeah.
And he's like, I mean, he is a hard news guy,
Yeah.
but he's just like this is like a step beyond hard news. Schefter, Shams, Passon, like that's the next level.
Chris Mortensen, right?
That is as breaking as you get it. Like that, you're the most connected guy in the sport.
Does a job like that appeal to you?
No. I just know I wouldn't be cut out for it. Like it would be great, but I have enough. I'm having a tough time right now, Pete, in my 7 jobs of football season and making no money. Like
Yeah.
I am struggling mightily with that. So no, to be able to, I don't think even at my journalistic peak, I didn't think I could handle the Shams, whatever, Woj.
One of the
career.
reasons I like Woj,
I think of great careers in sports as like ones that don't take a ton of work but can still be a craft. Which like a great sports radio show would be that, right?
Oh,
Like you're
yeah.
always plugged in, but it's not like you can take a vacation.
But something truly though, something happened in the world of sports radio. And here's what I mean. And maybe the athletes changed, maybe the personalities changed. But when I was a kid growing up, the guys who I was listening to on the radio, outside of the guys whose schedules were just so obscene that they couldn't go to games, right? Like in the early morning. But these were guys who had written for newspapers,
correct.
who grew up in locker rooms covering the games, who went to the games. Even the guy, he's the Eagles sideline reporter, and he's, as far as I'm concerned, best. For my money, he's the best. Is Howard Eskin. Now he's a prickly guy, and there's some stuff there,
Sure.
but clearly he just got in trouble for trying to kiss a woman at a Phillies game, allegedly. But he was suspended. I mean, that's out there. He goes to the games, all the games.
That was your original compliment of me.
Yes, you go to the games. That's huge. You know, like a lot of these guys, they don't go to the games anymore. Like, and that speaks to your point. If you're a morning show guy, I get it. You almost get a pass.
Can't do it. Yeah.
But other guys that get on the radio and they're talking this and that, I don't know. Maybe the game has changed so much that there's so much access to athletes in different places. But a guy like Woj, right? You become bonded with your subjects by showing up and being a part of their experience, right? They see your face. You know, that means a lot. I was told this as a young guy coming up, like doing PR, like the writers that show up, the guys know you. And that's a big deal. Just seeing somebody, especially when Cam Stewart shows up on a shitty road trip and they're like, wow, like he's still here. Like
After I've talked shit about you too.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's
a different thing. And like, that's where I kind of feel for the beat guys.
Yeah.
Like, so recent years, a lot of, players now have the voice that they never had before. They've got podcasts. They can put it out on social media if they're entering the transfer portal or where they want to sign. And so I think there's a lot of talk of like, well, that's good that the players can put this out there and it doesn't have to go through a writer anymore. But more often than not, you're getting the Wojs of the world. I'm not saying Woj doesn't work hard, but, if he's breaking a deal of, a Celtic who's getting traded or signing somewhere else, and here are 10 or 12 guys and gals who go on the road with the team all the time and put up with this ridiculous schedule that professional athletes have to go through all the time, and they don't get that huge story. Like, that does feel like it stinks.
Yeah.
If the alternative is the player saying it themselves, okay, fine. But if the alternative is a Woj or a Shams or a Passon, it's like, well, that kind of stinks.
Yeah.
Because we know those people who are, that's their life.
Yeah, but here's the one thing I would say. Those people who are breaking the stories were on the road before. Most of them. Right? Windhorst. Right.
Right.
I mean,
no,
they were
yeah.
beat writers at first, except for I don't know Shams. I don't know.
I don't think he was never on a beat.
No,
because he was kind of Diet Woj from the beginning. Like, he learned under Woj. Like, he was doing that in college.
All right, we got 2 minutes left. Our main man Zach Burke on the Wheels of Steel. You want to talk about a glue guy? That's it. Aaron Hernandez, Doc. Not Doc. I'm sorry.
Not a glue guy.
Aaron Hernandez show. Not a glue guy.
No.
What are your thoughts
Unglue
early on
guy.
out of the gate? I didn't watch it last night. I can't wait to watch it today.
And I imagine we'll talk about it again tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was good.
But you are a very harsh critic.
Yeah, I am. And I think you'll notice, like, some of the things that I took exception with are things like we already kind of know. Like, at one point they make out Tim Tebow to be like this little rich kid, which could not be further from the truth. They say, like, Tebow goes back to his mansion, and it was his first year as a starting quarterback, and he grew up dirt poor. So, like, that doesn't add up, and things like that. I think you're gonna like this Urban Meyer character. Featured prominently.
Really?
Yeah, big time in the first 2 episodes, because you're in high school and then Florida in the first 2 episodes. So yeah, good. I think I actually liked some of the creative ways they went with it. I like the way they opened the series with someone that a lot of people not familiar with the story don't know about, and I think sets it up really, really well.
Wow.
So
Zach, I can't believe
I think there's some good creative
Kim
decisions.
doesn't like anything.
Casting is some of the acting is but it's just okay. It's okay. Which I thought it was going to be really bad. So
better than Winning Time.
Yeah, because it's real so far. Some things I could dispute, but it seems actually like they took a real story this time. So I like that.
Are you here tomorrow?
I'm here tomorrow.
All right, cool. So we'll talk
Thursday Night Football to break down a preview.
So perfect. Cam will be here tomorrow, Zach. Cam's back
As
tomorrow.
if that was up for discussion.
Zach's back tomorrow. I'm back tomorrow. It's been a lot of fun today. Thanks to Alec Cadlebar, and of course, thanks to all our sponsors, Crawford Austin Properties, Slovacics, and the folks you see right here over my right. Socorro Family Ford out in West, and D1. It's actually D1 Dallas. That's a whole story behind that, but for another day. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
We are Rogue Media Sports.